Sarah, can you give us a bit of background about Bacardi Be Live and why you felt that engaging in a longer-term artist partnership was the right next step for Bacardi?
Hello everybody, good afternoon. We've been a long-standing patron of the arts. Bacardi, since its inception, has had really in-depth artist relationships, and we wanted to kind of continue that tradition and evolve our global music program further by developing a global artist partnership. We thought that the objective of this was to really develop deep and meaningful content and enable us to connect with our consumers in a more deep and meaningful way. It also afforded us the opportunity to unify a global program. Bacardi Be Live is our current music offering, and it runs in 25 countries across the world. But there's quite a disparate music policy exists in each territory, so this was a real opportunity for us to deliver some consistency across the markets. And I think finally it was important for us to really cut through and penetrate in the media and in the minds and reach the minds of our consumer, because so many brands are operating within music, and it was really important for us to differentiate and stand out and stand for something different and stand for something unique and innovative.
Dan, obviously from the artist perspective, retaining your artistic integrity is absolutely vital. Can you talk about maybe why, rather than the contents of the deal, why it felt right for you to do a partnership with Bacardi, maybe rather than some of the other brands that were approaching you at the time?
I think from our perspective, we were very aware about Bacardi's history of the music. The boys have played Be Live shows before around the world, and we knew that Bacardi were strong backers of music. And so in that sense, the brand having that strong association with music meant that that's a box very clearly ticked already, because there's that credibility that they have within the music field. I think the other thing is that from the point of view of taking a message out to a global audience, the marketing skills and expertise within the business were very clearly attractive to us, because it's not always been easy on a major label relationship, maybe getting that global message out to all of these global markets. And so in that sense, again, the ability to be able to let the world know what it is that you do is incredibly attractive to the artist.
Shall we get into the deal a little bit then, Matt? Do you want to talk a little bit about what's happened so far?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, the deal itself was tailored in a way where it wasn't a question of Bacardi going to Groove Armada saying we want you to do X, Y, or Z, or Groove Armada going, okay, this is what we want to do. Once we'd gone through that process of identifying each other as the right partners to work with, we actually sat down and looked at our objectives, from those objectives, we actually carved a deal that was going to suit both parties. So we had the live shows, and that was sometimes that would be for some of them, such as Miami and Mexico. That would be the full big live show, sort of with the full sort of kit and all of the visuals and everything that the band have become so well known for. And then there's also DJ shows as well. Obviously, Tom and Andy are both really skilled DJs, so those shows going out into places like Greece, where perhaps I don't think you DJed there before, have you? So it was quite an interesting thing to get out there. So that was one element. On top of that, Tom and Andy are both also skilled radio DJs. There was 6 radio shows that have been recorded that have been broadcast in, I think it's about 5 or 6 different territories around the world. And then, of course, there's probably the element that has generated the most excitement, which is the recording of a 4-track EP for us to release exclusively with each other in partnership.
Tom, were you surprised by the reaction of the media, and what were your thoughts on the response at the time?
This is a work, yes it is. Yeah, I was. I mean, to be honest, I thought it was going to be pretty bad, and it was largely really positive. I think people recognise, as an artist, you've got to hustle a little bit more to make a living, and this felt like a really sensible way to do things for us. We just left Sony BMG. I think both me and Andy were really reluctant to get back in with a major, having been in one for like 10, 11 years, which had been good and bad as well. And so it felt like a perfect deal. And yeah, I mean, by and large, the reaction's been really positive. There's occasionally got known as the Bacardi band, which is, you know, one of those things. But I think we basically felt like it's worked out pretty well for us for a year, and then we've come to the end of this year. We've got this EP coming out now, and you know, you provided a recording budget for that, which was great. Allowed us to try and take a few risks and do some things that have been different. So, you know, it's been a positive experience, definitely. Today,
earlier on, we've just come from a press conference where we announced a new concept, really. We're kind of calling it our New Year, New Model, which is really about encouraging the legal sharing of music. Matt, could you just talk a little minute about the about why sharing is right for Bacardi and for Groove, and then maybe pass over to Andy to talk about what sharing means for Groove in a bit more detail.
And what we wanted to do was actually do something that's innovative, as both parties here have already demonstrated a real innovative spirit, and actually embrace the way that people are consuming music. People are sharing music, and it's not something that we can necessarily fight or stop. So we were trying to identify a way that we could make this work for all parties. So we have you know, developed this new mechanic with each other, which I think when we sort of came up with it, we were all very incredibly excited about it.
Andy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, when we came to the end of our deal with Sony, there was two things that we felt very strongly that we needed as a band to achieve, and one of those was the taking the live show. There are certain places in the world where we can go. We saw in the Millennium playing on Bondi Beach with a band. We closed Glastonbury this year. There are certain territories where we can do that. There are certain territories where we need help, and that dovetailed very nicely with places where Bacardi wanted to operate with this campaign. So that was spot on. And then the other side of it was just finding a way of dealing with the fact that a lot's changed in the 10 or 11 years that we've been doing this. In the last 3 or 4 years, there's been this tidal wave of free music that threatens to sort of drown us all. And the genie is out the bottle there, you know, that if someone's got an illegal copy of a film, they probably feel they shouldn't really have it. If they've got shelves full of free MP3s or hard drives full of them, they'll feel pretty comfortable about that. And that's a culture that the industry is allowed to develop. It's there, it's not going to change. So it's about how you try and get a bit of love back into music and stop music from becoming disposable. And for us, the key thing about this sharing system, which we've devised, which was announced earlier on, is to try and get a bit more of that spirit back, like we used to do when you'd get a record and you'd tape a couple of tracks to send to a friend because you just thought it was brilliant and they had to hear it. And it's about trying to get that spirit again back into music, because if you just keep giving your music away, it just becomes, as I say, disposable, and there needs to be more love involved.